Hello everyone, I am Avisha Peters from the Department of Psychology, the Bhopal School of Social Sciences, and today we would be covering the topic visual sensation. Now we had already covered the basics in one of the previous lectures, that is sensation. You can find it in the channel. But today let's just work with visual sensation. So first let's start with introduction to visual sensation. Do not be scared by this scary picture, by the way. It basically, I am trying to capture how your eyes view the world. Eyes are really one of the most magnificent organs of the body that you have, because seeing this world and recognizing so many colors is something that only us humans have. Most of the organisms of the planet are not able to even recognize 1/10 of the colors that we do. For example, your dogs, do you know your dogs are colorblind? But humans, meanwhile, we can recognize approximately 70 million variations of colors. That is how awesome our eyes are. So what is visual sensation? Visual sensation is the process of detecting and perceiving light energy through the eyes. Light energy is what? Right now you are watching this screen. The lights are emitting from this screen. It's entering your eyes, and your eyes are able to basically transform this into neural energy or neural signals. This is your light energy, and the transformation of this light energy to neural signals is called as transductions. Now, this whole process, this whole visual sensation plays a very important role in how you understand the world around you. Now let's look into the anatomy of the eye. This is how your human eye looks like, and let's do a quick overview of it. We will be covering the main parts of the eye, so you don't need to be scared by seeing so many labels. You just need to know main 7-6 parts of the eye. So first you have the cornea. Cornea is this part. You see this small outer layer? This is your cornea, and this basically focuses your light onto the retina. From here the light would enter, and here the light would get focused. There would be one more lens here. You could see this structure. This is an optic lens of your eye, and here your light would get further focused, and it would come into here onto your retina. This thin layer is your retina, and here a image would be formed of whatever you are seeing. But interestingly enough, this image would be inverted. For example, if you are seeing a triangle, the triangle would be inverted. But then how come you are able to see things straight and not inverted? It is because your brain is able to transform this inverted image back into normal. Now next is your iris. You see this colored part, this blue part, this is your iris. For example, let's say what's the color of your eyes? Most likely it's brown, and I would like to break another myth here. There is no such thing as black eyes. Black eyes, if you look just close enough, they tend to be dark brown. So iris is basically what gives the pigment to your eye, and it also has another function, that is it controls the size of the pupil, because it surrounds the pupil. Now what is pupil? It is this hole here. You see this hole? This, if you look closely at your eye in the mirror, you would see that surrounding the color part. Here basically is your eye. This is, let's say, your iris. Right here in the middle would be the pupil, and this pupil is basically a small hole through which the light would enter your eye. And finally, inside your pupil is the lens, this part, from which would focus the light into the retina. And finally we come to your retina. Retina is basically your light sensitive layer of the eye. It's right at the back of the eye, and it is filled with photoreceptors, cones and rods, that we will be looking into the next slide. Here you go. So this you could see is the retina, and this is a magnified view of the retina. Do you see here? This is here the cones, and this here is the rods. Cones are these colorful things, and rods are here these black and white things. Now why is this, there is this difference? Is because your cones are responsible for your color vision, and your rods are responsible for your non-color, or you could say black and white vision. So when you are, let's say, in a dark room, what happens? Your rods are responsible for the vision in low light condition, and also your peripheral vision. What is your peripheral vision? Vision that happens here in the corners, because most of your color vision is concentrated here in the center region of the retina. Now cones are responsible for your color vision. Why you are able to see colors is because of your cones, and they are also responsible for detailed central vision. Central vision means what you are able to see here, right in the center. So it's here in the center of the retina. Processing visual information. How do we exactly process visual information? Again, do not be scared by the diagram, we just need to look at some specific parts of it. So visual information is gathered by photoreceptor cells that we have already covered, your cones and rods, and from these cones and rods what they will do is they will basically convert this light energy into neural cells by the process of transduction, and it will send, and through the optic nerve, it will go through the optic nerve that is in your retina. Here you could say, let me turn it back, you see this part, this is the optic nerve, and through this optic nerve it would go right to the brain, where in your brain this neural energy would be processed, interpreted, understood, and finally you would be able to understand what you are actually seeing. And this whole process happens in milliseconds. It is so instantaneous that you will not be even realize that this whole process is happening between your eyes and the brain. Now we come to visual perception, because if you are talking about visual sensation, we also have to talk about visual perception. What's the difference between the two? Visual sensation is basically your raw visual data, the raw visuals as it is. But what you make out of those visual sensations, what you make out of those raw visuals is visual perception. And it involves organizing and interpreting visual information to create meaningful experiences. Now in psychology we have a specific school that is called as the Gestalt School of Psychology, which actually talks at length about principles of visual perception. Some of these principles are given here. First is proximity. This basically says that if there are a bunch of items put together, you would see them as a group. Here you can see here, these items are put together, you will most likely be perceiving them as a whole group. Next is similarity. Objects that look similar to each other would probably be grouped together. For example, here they look similar and so they would be grouped together. Here another example, these are a bunch of squares, you will probably be grouping them together. If I put some circles down here, would you group these together? No, most likely you would perceive them as two separate groups because of the similarity. Next is continuance. If you see, let us say for example here, these small dotted lines together, you would see them as one continuous unit because they are placed like that and you would perceive them as that. Next is closure. Now technically this here what you see, it is not a triangle. You are perceiving it as a triangle because you are joining these dots by yourself. And finally figure and ground. Here you see this white place as the background and this black thing as this black rectangle as the figure, and similarly here it is reversed. Here this black thing here will become the background and the white rectangle would become the figure. So what basically happens is, if there is let us say a figure like this, and if let us say there is a small item inside it, you will probably perceive the larger item or the larger let us say picture as the background and the smaller item within it as the figure. Let us talk briefly about color vision. Do you see this picture here? This is called as the Ishihara color blindness test. Tell me, are you able to see the number 46 in that image? If you are, then congratulations, you are not color blind. But if you are not able to do it, maybe you are color blind. So color vision is enabled by specialized cone cells in the retina that respond to different wavelengths of light. We have already covered this. There are two theories that basically try to explain color vision. The first one is trichromatic theory. This basically tells that we have three types of cones in our eyes, specifically in our retina, that are sensitive to red, green and blue light. For example, if let us say here in this whole picture there is this blue light here, this whole background is yellow light here, this whole background is yellow, and so the cones that are sensitive to, I apologize, let us look at this image here again. So here in this image there are these red spots you can see. So looking at this image, the cones that are sensitive to red light would light up and they would immediately detect these red senses. Similarly, we also have green cones, and the minute we see these green color here, our green cones would light up and they would be able to detect the green light. People who have color blindness, they have certain dysfunction in these cones, in perhaps one of them, two of them, or perhaps all three of them, and so they are not able to perceive certain colors. Now the next theory is the opponent process theory that explains color after images and color vision deficiency by describing how the brain processes color information opposing pairs. Has this ever happened to you that let's say you are reading or you are looking at a color very carefully? Let's say for example here is a box of blue color and you are looking at this very carefully, and then you move away your eyes for a second, and when you look back you see another color, green let's say. What is this? This is basically the phenomena of after image. Now the previous theory, trichromatic theory, was not able to explain this phenomena of after image. It was also not able to explain that why do we never see combination of let's say green and blue or red and green. But opponent process theory explains this very well. It basically says that we see color, we basically perceive colors in pairs, we process information in pairs. So let's say red and green would pair up and blue and yellow would pair up. Now moving on is visual illusion. Look at this image here. Which line is longer? You will probably say, oh, this line here is longer. But I would say look at it carefully again. Actually both the lines are of equal length. It's just that because of these arrows pointing outwards that you perceive this image, this figure as being longer than the first one. And this is exactly what visual illusion is, where the sensation or the raw data that you are seeing in the environment is not exactly lining up with your preconceived notions or your expectations or beliefs. So when you see these outer lines, your brain says, oh, look at this outer line, outer arrows. It's looking longer, so it must be longer. But the fact is that both of these lines are equal. And just like this, there are several other illusions like Ponzo illusion that you can check out, and these illusions highlight how our brain interprets visual stimuli in context. Context means situation. That perception can differ from situation to situation and on basis of your previous learning and experience. Now, what are the factors that can influence visual sensation? First one of course is brightness. These two here are the exact same images, but do they look like it? No, absolutely not. Why? Because there is a difference in brightness. This picture here looks like a very dark and dull set of mountains, and this picture here looks like a very sunny and nice place to go out and have a picnic. The difference is just that this picture had more light in it, is more bright, and this picture is more dark. And that is how basically like how graphic designers can change the whole you could say the image or whole graphic just by playing around with brightness and contrast. It adds a whole different flavor to the image. Now context and expectations can also shape your interpretation of visual scenes a lot. For example, let's say you are walking down the road, it's very dark, you are not able to see that clearly, and down you see a long thing lying here like this. Because of the situation here and because of your surroundings, you might think, oh, this is a snake or this is something dangerous, and you might step back. Now take the same situation where it's bright and sunny outside. Here you can clearly see that, oh, it's a snake, it's a rope, and you will not be that scared of it. So context and expectations basically made a difference in your perception of this visual sensation. Now we come to the last slide, and that is application of visual sensation. Visual sensation is a very, how should I say, ever growing research area, especially because now we are in the age of virtual reality, where knowing and the application of visual sensation is very important to create real world like virtual realities. Here you can see in this image, In fact, metaverse and all the other new initiatives, they make use of our visual sensation and how we perceive and sense images, visual sensation, into making and constructing these virtual realities. Another example of application of visual sensation is of course marketing. For example, if let's say they want marketing, let's say there is a toy company that sells toy for small children. They would keep their colors bright and optimistic in order to catch the attention of the children, because children like bright colors. But if let's say there is a toy company that makes toys for adults, yes, they do exist. Let's say for example your Dragon Ball Z figures and whatnot, adults do like to collect them, and they would then try to do their marketing in a very mature manner. They would not use many bright colors, they might use more muted colors. Similarly, let's take another better example, that is of Barbie and Oppenheimer. The marketing of Barbie was done with very bright shades of pink, because they were trying to brand it that way, and they were trying to condition us into thinking that whenever we see pink color, we would immediately think of Barbie. Oppenheimer meanwhile had very dark colors, because the movie was set on very dark setting of nuclear bombing. So they had the marketing done in very dark colors because they wanted the movie to be taken seriously. And that is how colors and visual sensations could be used in marketing. And with that, we come to the end of this topic. I hope you have got to learn a lot through this lecture, and I'll see you next time. This is Avisha Peters signing off.